The second generation Mercedes GLC 300e sets new standards for what an upper mid-sized premium SUV plug-in hybrid can be. Thinking of choosing a full EV of this kind in this class? Stop and consider this Mercedes before you do.
Choosing your next business or family conveyance, particularly if it's a mid-sized premium SUV, can be a bit of a numbers game. If so, here are some numbers of interest produced by this Mercedes GLC 300e 4MATIC plug-in hybrid in second generation form. Up to 80 miles of EV range, 565 miles per gallon on the combined cycle, 12 grams per kilometre of CO2 and just 5% of benefit in kind taxation. There's a more off-putting sticker price number to go with all of these stats, but we'll get to that. For the time being, these figures vastly improve on what you'd get from this model's four main class rivals. Plug-in hybrid versions of the BMW X3, the Audi Q5, the Volvo XC60 and the Jaguar F-Pace. And unlike with those cars, with the GLC, you can have a diesel plug-in powertrain as well as the petrol one we focus on here. As with the first generation GLC 300e, a four-cylinder petrol engine here is mated to an electric motor powered by a lithium-ion battery. It's that battery that's the biggest change with this second generation GLC plug-in, more than doubled in size from 13.5 kilowatt hours to 31.2, which is pretty large for a PHEV, as is the resultant driving range figure, up to 80 miles. To give you some perspective, the previous generation GLC 300e only went 27 miles on battery power alone. The equivalent C300e Saloon has a smaller 25.4 kilowatt hour battery, so only goes 68 EV miles between charges. So beyond mere practicality and fashion, there's plenty of justification for choosing the crossover body style. If you want a Mercedes plug-in of this size and are choosing between C-Class and GLC, there are other differences too. The rear-driven format of the C300e is replaced by a 4MATIC all-wheel drive system in the GLC. And unlike the C-Class, the GLC plug-in can also be had in diesel 300DE form, if you don't mind a strike against the current zeitgeist and want even greater economy. It's the petrol GLC 300e variant that's our focus here though, which, like its diesel counterpart, gets a 134 horsepower electric motor to assist the 2-litre combustion engine up front. In the case of the GLC 300e, that means a combined total output up at 308 horsepower. Enough, even with this car's prodigious 2,355 kilo curb weight, to dispatch 62 miles an hour in 6.7 seconds en route to 135 miles an hour. Talking of weight, there's so much of it here that Mercedes has had to fit self-levelling air suspension at the rear to better control the extra bulk of the bigger battery pack. This damping setup is more softly tuned than the sportier springing setup used on more conventional GLC models, so the car feels less comfortable being thrown about, though few potential customers will want to do that anyway. What's of more interest here is to make the most of the efficient attributes of this clever powertrain. The car always defaults to full electric EV motion if there's enough charge in the battery, even in the hybrid drive mode you'll most commonly use. When required, the engine cuts in pretty seamlessly and works via the brand's usual smooth 9-speed auto gearbox, though when you try and push along, rapid progress has to be accompanied by rather breathless revving. Better to adopt a more laid-back driving style and, where possible, force the car to go electric by switching to the full battery EL Dynamic Select drive setting. There's also a B mode that can preserve battery charge for later in your trip when you might be better able to use it. Stay away from the most urgent sport drive setting, and the gear shift paddles behind the steering wheel function as brake regeneration controllers via 4 settings. D- gives you the highest level of energy harvesting, or for cruising you can switch to either D or D+. Better probably though to forget all of that and just use the provided Eco Assist D Auto setting, activated by pulling on the right hand paddle, which does it all for you. There are no real styling changes to differentiate this GLC 300e plug-in model from its conventional range stablemates, though the eagle-eyed will spot the different badgework and the addition of an extra charging flap. As with conventional variants, there's a choice of the standard SUV body shape or a sleeker GLC coupe body style. Looking at the Mark II version of this model is a bit like encountering a friend who's been at a health farm for a couple of months and has emerged leaner and fitter. Rounded edges and clean surfacing bring some of the look of the C-Class to this crossover. And it's sleeker than before, the drag coefficient improved by 0.2 to 0.29 CD. Plus, it's 60mm longer, measuring in at 4,718mm. It's inside where existing GLC drivers will notice the biggest changes though. The dash adopts a large central portrait screen slightly canted towards the driver. The digital instrument display is borrowed from the C-Class too, but the GLC gets its own uniquely styled vents. And the seats are hugely improved with more supportive cushioning materials. An augmented reality head-up display can be added as well. And in the back, well, if you've been persuaded to buy one of these in preference to a C-Class estate, it's here that that decision will pay off. This Mark II model's 15mm wheelbase increase has been put to good use in the slightly more spacious rear section of the cabin, mainly to improve legroom, not one of the previous model's strong points. The bench slides back and forth too, which aids cargo flexibility. As before though, the PHEV powertrain exacts a few space compromises in the boot. The SUV body shape's usual 600-litre luggage capacity falling to just 400 litres. With the GLC Coupe PHEV, capacity is 390 litres. Fold the rear bench in a plug-in GLC and the figures are 1,497 litres for the SUV and 1,335 litres for the coupe. At the time of this test in spring 2023, prices for this GLC 300e 4MATIC in SUV form were starting from around £62,000, which is around £10,000 more than a conventional GLC 220D mild hybrid 48-volt model. Allow a premium of around £3,000 if you want the sleeker GLC coupe body shape. And to give you some Mercedes range perspective, a C300e saloon with a similar version of the same powertrain, albeit with a smaller 25.4 kilowatt-hour battery, costs around £46,000. The Mercedes full electric alternative in this class, the EQC, costs from around £75,000, which is almost what you'd pay for this GLC 300e. If you were to order it in its ritziest AMG line Premium Plus form, as tested. It's more likely, though, that you'll be choosing between the two more affordable spec options, AMG line or AMG line Premium. The alternative GLC 300DE 4MATIC diesel plug-in hybrid model commands a £2,250 premium over this petrol version. At least the standard equipment is generous, with things like smartphone integration, wireless charging and heated front seats standard across the range. Many GLC customers will want to look at the optional digital light headlamps. These project in front of the car onto the road surface when driving at night, with things like guidance lines, symbols and animation. Plus, the system's intelligent technology highlights pedestrians that you might come across with a spotlight function. If you've extra to spend, you might also want to look at the parking package with its 360-degree camera. If you specify that, the cabin screen offers a transparent bonnet view when you're driving off-road, which shows a virtual view under the front of the vehicle, including the front wheels and the steering position. This allows the driver to recognise obstacles like sharp stones or deep potholes at an early stage. Quite a few owners will want to add on a tow bar and will like the clever towing route planner that's been added into the navigation system. Using this, routes can be planned in the central display that are suitable for driving with a trailer, taking into account things like passage width and passage heights. And there's an enhanced trailer manoeuvring assistance system that makes manoeuvring with a trailer easier, more comfortable and safer. We've covered some of the key efficiency facts already in our driving section. The way that an electric motor powered by a 31.2 kilowatt-hour battery is capable of running this car on electricity alone for up to 80 WLTP rated miles before a 2-litre combustion engine chimes in. We found the figure to be closer to 60 miles during our test, but that's still impressive by class standards. You can keep relatively close to that figure by proactive use of the brake regeneration gear shift paddles behind the steering wheel, which can be used to increase or decrease the amount of energy harvesting back to the battery. This GLC 300E plug-in variant can be had in some other markets in 55 kilowatt rapid charging form, but not as yet here. The UK Type 2 format charges at 11 kilowatts AC and needs 2.5 hours for a 10 to 100% charge. The quoted combined cycle fuel figure of 565 mpg only goes to show how urgently we need a more real-world way of measuring PHEV fuel consumption. Exceptional frugality is certainly possible though. Expect up to 950 miles of driving range when the battery is charged and the tank's full. The CO2 figure is a class-leading 12 grams per kilometre, which equates to a super low benefit-in-kind tax rating of just 5%. It'll be 33% with a conventional GLC 220D diesel. That latter 5% BIK figure is shared by the alternative GLC 300DE 4MATIC diesel plug-in version of this model, which records 706.3 mpg on the combined cycle. Yes, you heard that right. And 10 grams per kilometre of CO2. Insurance for the 300E is Group 47 or 48E. With the GLC 300DE, it's Group 49E or 50E. What else? Well, you get a comprehensive 3-year warranty that has no mileage restriction. Rival BMW and Audi warranties restrict you to 60,000 miles. And this package is built upon by Mercedes' Mobilo scheme, which delivers breakdown cover for up to 30 years, as long as you continue to have your car serviced at a Mercedes main dealer. And it's worth knowing that your maintenance outlay can be kept a little in check by going for the optional service care package that takes care of routine maintenance, spreading the cost of regular servicing. The industry's full of folk at present ready to write off plug-in hybrids. You shouldn't listen to them, not only because the UK public charging infrastructure is creaking under the weight of the EV revolution, but also because the new generation of PHEVs, typified by this GLC 300E, makes so much sense, if only they were more affordable. Will the forthcoming full electric version of this GLC make more sense than this? Well, we rather doubt it. True, the quoted fuel economy stats are ridiculously misleading, but their reality is still immense frugality, particularly in the case of the alternative GLC 300DE diesel variant of this car, that we might be more tempted to choose. Either way, and particularly if someone else was paying, we'd find it hard to look beyond a plug-in GLC of this kind if we were seeking an electrified choice in this segment.